Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the GEW edition of Opportunity Evening. Now, this should not be a strange event for you. Every year, there is an annual celebration of Global Entrepreneurship Week, and here in JBDC, we have been observing this as a part of our regular events and activities. Global Entrepreneurship Week has been in celebration since 2007, and all over the world, countries celebrate innovators, job creators, and those people who bring ideas, turn their passions into entrepreneurial, into money-making enterprises that not just create their own visions and bring those to life, but also create impact in their communities, in their countries, and sometimes across the world. They create ideas and businesses that change the way we live. And so JBDC once again is driving the local movement and in an effort to highlight emerging creative industries and to facilitate business to business discussions and to encourage business startups on a national level. And against this backdrop, we are marking the celebrations during this time, November 8th to 14th. We've started out the week already under the theme Reboot, Rethink, Regenerate. And it is kind of a special time that we're also observing Global Entrepreneurship Week. It is a time when we are spending a second year in what has been a globally challenging pandemic scenario that's impacting economies all over the world. And the first thing last year would have heard the word pivoting quite a bit, where people are being, well, entrepreneurs, and I guess even if you're not an entrepreneur, you should be hearing this word pivot, whether it is regards to your business or how you have been managing your own life, your job. And now that we've gone past pivoting, we're seeing where it is that opportunities are coming about for us to create further economic gain and create further new visions, new life in the entrepreneurial space. They say from out of challenges and crisis emerges opportunity. And so we thought that our opportunity evening, which is usually a conversation that is designed to expose entrepreneurs to new thoughts, new ideas, and trends for the whole purpose of helping to stimulate their own ideas, to create opportunities for networking and so on. We thought it would be ideal to focus our opportunity evening on this theme: regenerate emerging business models. So we want to look around and have a conversation today around what are the trends that have emerged out of the pandemic. A lot of things have happened in terms of logistics. If you're paying attention, you'll realize that there are a lot of either delays or products that you may not be able to access because of delays in shipping. There are logistics problems, and there are trends in terms of just accessing certain goods and services that, because we are no longer doing face-to-face as much, there have been challenges. People's lifestyles have changed. So there are different areas that have created potential spaces for new business opportunities to arise. And we have some entrepreneurs who are joining the panel with me or forming the panel with me this afternoon, who will be sharing on some sub-themes under this general subject. I want to introduce to you Mrs. Sarika Sterling. She is the Managing Director and founder of Senior Accounting Services. And we also have Victor Clementson, who is the Managing Director of Doorstep Jamaica, or Cut the Line rather. We also have Dania Beckford, who is Brand Communication Consultant and Director of Broadtail Designs, and Rochelle Linton, entrepreneur and YouTuber. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Great, good to have you. Welcome to our opportunity evening conversation. Now, audience members, if you're either on whatever social media platform with us right now or you're in the Zoom, remember you can share in the conversation by typing in your questions and so on or comments, and we will attend to them as we go on in the conversation. So what we're going to do is, as I said, we're going to have a conversation around some of these ideas about emerging business models. And the panelists here, they're going to have specific or different perspectives that they're going to bring to us. For example, I want to invite Sarika, the previous Boss Lady awardee from 2020, to speak with us first on the topic of pivoting from employee to employer. Now, let me just give you a quick introduction to Sarika. Sarika started out her career in accounting and taxation and has over 11 years in that field. She has worked with the big four firms in Jamaica and I think even abroad, and decided to start her own entrepreneurial journey in 2016. Since then, she has been making quite a few strides. And last year, she won the Boss Lady Award because she was acknowledged for doing some very good pivoting herself on her business model and landed some good milestones in terms of growth. And we want to help have her get into that for us and share with us a little bit about that. And most recently this year, she earned the Governor General's Achievement Award of Excellence for the parish of Kingston. And we also want you to tell us a little bit about how that award was given to you, Sarika. As a person, Sarika is a mother. She's also an advocate. She is the founder of the Preemie Foundation of Jamaica, which is a nonprofit organization that raises awareness about premature babies born in Jamaica, and she provides support to the families of those persons in this organization. And this is out of her own personal journey with preemie birth. Yes. And I said she's a mother, she's a wife, and of course we know she's an entrepreneur. So I said it would be brief, but I think I went through
so quite a bit.
Yes, Sarika, tell us a little bit about what it is that you would have done last year to have pivoted and take advantage of opportunities that came out of the pandemic last year.
Well, one of the things that I did, the first thing I did, well, first of all, I was panic, like, oh, there's a case in the island. I'm like, oh, Lord Jesus, help me. But, outside of that, we had to go into lockdown. It was very difficult because we're never built to accommodate our staff outside. However, we were always highly technological. So everyone had a laptop. We had a good, internet system, and majority of our clients, we dealt with them over the World Wide Web because we have clients overseas and, across Jamaica. So we hardly had persons coming in. But what was challenging for us is managing, our staff remotely. And I know we talk about shifting from employee to employer. So I can just rewind and give you a little, background, if that's okay, with you in terms of time. So, in 2015, I was at a point in my career, I was like, okay, where do I go from here? I've done quite a bit in the space, and I had spoken to a mentor before that said, Sarika, don't stay too long, in one place. Always be pushing, always trying to figure out, what you need to do. So I got to a place where I was like, okay, no, I understand how to do my job. What next? What else do I have in me? So I said, you know what, let me try something new. Spoke to my husband. He says, why don't you just start a business? I was like, boy, that's just so like so much responsibility, and then it may work. And, I may have things to do, and it may become so daunting, So for me, it wasn't ever about failing. It was just, Lord Jesus, if it's successful, I'm going to have to manage a whole heap of people. I don't know if I have it in me. So in any event, I started, and, what I can share with your audience that I've learned is quite a number of things. One, You don't need to be passionate about entrepreneurship to get into entrepreneurship, right? For me, I was never passionate about entrepreneurship. I was passionate about other things, about one, being flexible, about giving back to my community, and also about discovering my limits. So I found that, in having a 9 to 5, I never got the chance to, to be flexible with my children. One, I never got the chance to do a lot of advocacy and philanthropic work that I wanted to do. And I also wasn't sure about my limits. I said, you know what, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna try to figure out what my limits are. I'm gonna see if I can do something, that I think is bigger than me. A lot of times when I talk to people and I give presentation about tax and accounting, they always say, oh my God, you're so passionate about accounting and taxation. And I'm like, really, truly, no, I'm not. I'm passionate about excellence. I'm passionate about, doing whatever I'm doing to the best of my ability. So for anybody in here that's looking to pivot from being an employee to an employer, it can take anything to influence that journey. For me, it was never accounting or tax. It was about taking control of my life. It was also about exploring what my limits were. So fast forward now to the pandemic and what I had to deal with. So during the pandemic, I had just increased my staff count to 3. So that's not a lot. But one of the things that I quickly identified was that I could no longer be everything I wanted to be to my company. It was a different territory now. Gone were the days when I could go out and, network and connect with people. That wasn't happening anymore. And I never had an internal marketing team. So that's how I ended up reaching out to JBDC, and I say, hey guys, boy, I need some help here because I really don't know what to do right now. So that's another part of pivoting, in my opinion, in that you have to always be assessing what do I have, what do I need, and where can I get it, right? So you don't wait necessarily until a pandemic hit to then sit back and be like, all right, what do I do now? It's a continuous assessment, as an entrepreneur. Where am I today? Where I was yesterday? What do I want to do? And what are the things do I need to get there? And I think that's what helped me so much in terms of pivoting, because I was always keeping track of that. So as an entrepreneur, I'll encourage you on an annual basis, do an assessment. What did I do well? What did I not do good? What do I want to do next year? And where am I going to get these resources to get it done? What that does, it makes you prepare for any eventuality, because when something happens, you can now say, boy, this is what I need to do, but things have changed. How do I jimmy this? How do I shift it, to get there? So my biggest challenge during the pandemic, and you can always, cut me if, you have a question to ask, is managing the staff remotely. And how I pivoted to that was I implemented, new technology in the company to ensure that we're able to monitor, to ensure that we're able to do teamwork together, and to ensure that we're able to, connect with persons, because working from home by yourself, it's very difficult. The second thing we did was we ensured that we completed a system that we're building out, which is a tech system to manage employees, a human resource management and payroll app. So we found that, okay, we may not have persons who want to, file returns. We never knew what was going to happen. We may have clients who say, okay, we're going to close shop and we're going to lose those persons. But people will always have staff. People will always want to manage human resource, and they will always want to manage it from a tech standpoint and remotely. So, we ensure that we completed our application, and we shifted from not only providing service, accounting and taxation, but we got into the tech space. So
hold on a second, Sarika, before you move on, you said something that I want to just probe a little bit. You mentioned that the major challenge was with monitoring when you had to do the remote management of your team.
Right.
It was, maybe at the time it was a challenge. In retrospect, now that you've been doing it, has it revealed or has it turned out to be any kind of advantages that you have gained from making this switch?
Well, okay, so I think initially it was the newness of it. I was always used to being in the office and being able to monitor my staff. They were able to come to me for anything. But being remote, it's difficult to have that one-on-one conversation and to kind of, walk past them and be like, hey, come here, let me ask you something. So it was always on a time. But yes, it has gotten a lot easier now in that, we have built out a technology that, persons are able to quickly connect with us if they need us. And it required a lot of discipline. It required a lot of planning on our part, because Kira, when you're you're doing that, you're not 100% sure of what will work. You know, you have to know to understand your staff, you have to understand human resource, you have to understand how do we manage people, what do we need to management, the kind of leader you're going to be remotely. So it took us like a roundabout turn in terms of our policy and, you know, how we monitor people and how we monitor work and how we share projects and how we communicate. So yes, it has gotten a lot easier. And I think back then it was just because it was something that we were not ready for at the time.
Is it that because there are a lot of other small business persons like yourself who would have been in the position, maybe still in that position, or who could be entering into entrepreneurship where they are growing or needing to expand their team. I want to know, would you recommend work from home or remote working rather, or would you not recommend it?
Okay, so I can't say either or. What I have learned is that a lot depends on the individual that you're working with. And, you know, right now we have 8 staff and it's 8 different personalities. You would have to do an assessment of the persons that you're working with to determine, is this someone who can manage on their own? Is this someone that needs, you know, to be constantly monitored? You want to also find out, you know, on your side, am I appropriately planning for this individual? Because that was one of the challenges too, Kira, in that the projects come in and gone are the days you could just say, oh, here's a project, do this. No, you have to add to do some strategic planning. So I wouldn't say no, and I honestly wouldn't say yes. It's about your product. So for me, I'm selling a service, right? And I have clients that we have to deal with. So clients will be calling and they have to call the office, right? We also have projects that we can work on remotely, but it also requires planning. So you find that if I have appropriately planned the project and the staff know exactly what they need to do and they know their timelines and they know the deadlines, then it's a lot easier to manage. But then the human side comes in that you have to look at this person's personality. Is this a person who is responsible? Is this a person who will stick to the timelines? Or is this a person that you have to follow up with every hour on the hour? So to the extent that you have a product or a service and the right human resource for that kind of environment, then it can be very, very successful, because then you can save on utilities, you can save on rent, you can save on travel and all of that. But if you have a model and a staff complement that when you do your assessment, it just cannot work, then it requires some kind of a shift. At some point, we had the staff coming in like, you know, every other day. So we had some come in Monday, Tuesday, another set come in Wednesday, Thursday, another person come in on Friday, so that they could have that contact and for us to know, okay, you know, the persons who need to be in-house, who need to be in our presence are there. So it's really just a matter of planning.
All right, thank you. You were saying that you were getting into the introduction of your new digital platform.
Right, so that's one of the things that we use to pivot. And a message to all entrepreneurs, if you're transitioning from an employee to an employer, you have to understand that the way you start out day one may not be where you end up. When I started out, Kira, all I wanted to do was tax. I was just like, I'm just going to have a tax firm and I'm going to do, you know, tax filing. But then I found out that, you know, clients they want auditing, they want bookkeeping, they want business services. And you find that all of those things the services kind of evolved out of the client's need. But outside of your personal client's needs, you also have to be looking ahead, saying, okay, what else can I do? What if tomorrow someone build this new application that can file taxes or that can do bookkeeping, you know, in an automated way? How do I pivot? What else can I do? So it's a matter of us really looking in our business model, looking at our clients, looking at their needs and saying, hey, I think our clients can benefit from something like this. And we believe we could too. And so we took it upon ourselves to say, okay, let's try to build something. So the key takeaway for me here is that you should always be looking at where you are, what the market is looking for, and also looking at things that the market don't even have yet, but could come up. that you can, put out there. So for us, we built the human resource management and payroll application. We have launched it. We've done a soft launch and it's doing quite well. So you would say that we have pivoted, like, I don't even know, is that a 360? I don't know, is that a 180? Because we started out as a service firm, but no, we actually have a tech solution arm of the business. So for me, it's looking out there to see what you can do. One of the things I want to encourage persons to do as well is that you have to get help. When you start a small business, you can't probably afford, a human resource manager, a CEO, a marketing executive, a sales rep. You can't afford it. That's the truth. You can't afford an accountant all at once. So you have to be always looking out to see, where can I get the help? And JBDC is one place where you can build out a full team. I've worked with JBDC a lot, and I always encourage entrepreneurs, even if outside of JBDC, you have other, associations, but you cannot be your own HR manager. You cannot be your own marketing manager for too long. So in year one, you should be planning, okay, when things start get heavy, how am I going to manage human resource? How am I going to manage sales? How am I going to manage this? Always have some kind of a plan in the back of your head of what to do. One of the other things is discipline. When you're leaving your work, you had a supervisor, you had a manager who was always reviewing your work, always reminding you what to do, helping you along and so on. When you're on your own, it's you alone. I remember, Kira, I used to sit down in my office by myself, charting out marketing plan that I have no business charting out, planning out how I'm going to get new clients, planning out how I want my brand to be when I have no experience in branding. But it requires that discipline to sit down and say to yourself, I'm not an entrepreneur. What do I want out of this? And as I always say to persons who I talk to, you may not know a lot about everything, but being an entrepreneur, you should know a little about everything. Because in the early stages, you will have to, in most cases, start out doing those things on your own. So it's a discipline for you to learn, sit down and do it, and know that it may not be flashy. It not look like how it look on Instagram. You're going to have to sit in your office and actually work, and get it done. And finally, learn how to be a good leader.
That's you can't drop such a big one at the end of just learn how to be a good leader, because that is such a weighty and
yes,
complex,
it is
role.
complex. Let me just give you 5 minutes of it, because I know I'm probably taking up too much time, but I've had to learn how to be a leader, Kira. Outside of just managing. When I started, I was just reviewing people's work and sending things to my client. But then I had to quickly remember that I had staff, I had persons who were looking up to me, and I had persons outside that were looking in to say, okay, can I follow this person? So when you leave a work environment, I was an accountant, I know how to do accounting, but do I know how to get the best out of people? Do I know how to get the best out of my client? How do I know the areas in which I need to grow? So I needed to learn, how to be more, to be softer with my clients, to be softer with my staff. I had to learn social skills. I had a lot of social skills, but there was a lot more to learn in that regard. I had to learn how to manage relationships, and not only client relationships, but my staff. I had to learn also how to, what kind of person you want people to see you as in the business space. And all of that requires learning. It requires, reading books. It requires, connecting with other entrepreneurs, just seeing how they do things and, implementing it in your business. So being a leader is what is going to make your business successful, because you are leading a team, and you're also leading your clients, and you're leading persons who are looking on, who want to come in the entrepreneurial space.
Okay, thank you so much, Sarika. That was really quite a bit in terms of the journey summed up in a few moments, a few minutes. The journey from employee to employer, and being on the theme of emerging business models. I was taking some notes on, how it is that you would have addressed your business model as you pivoted from employee to employer. And you mentioned that that one of the challenges that every business person or business owner or one-man shop is that they usually are the one person who are in the business when they decide to transition into entrepreneurship, right, guys? The rest of the panel, you usually are the only person that's there. And you have to ensure that you start from early to create a structure, looking at the partnerships. You mentioned you're assessing, okay, what gaps do I have, and looking at where you can fill those needs in terms of partnerships, and then transitioning as you need to employing other persons. You mentioned also at the end there this big point about leadership and learning how to lead, because as an employee, you would have been led, given a vision, etc., and so on. And now you will have to learn how to communicate that. What is Mrs. Oh, I'm just seeing something come up here. What is accounting service for your business? What is Miss Sterling business name? Oh, it is Senior Accounting Services, SAS. Are you on Instagram, Sarika?
Yes, I am. It's SAS_JM on social media. So SAS_JM on Instagram and SASJM1 on Facebook. You can find us at www.sasjm.com. That's our website. You can book a free consultation if you want through our website, and you can also, just browse around our suite of services and read some of our blogs.
Okay, I just wanted to ask any of the other members of the panel if they would like to add anything to the discussion around what it has been like for them to transition from employee to employer. Victor, I
would like to add something. Just like Mrs. Sterling, back in 2015, when the idea came to mind to start a business. Back then I was data analyst for the Ministry of Energy. Team, that's what propelled me as a person, and cut the line by doorstep Jamaica. But then I was working, not saying anybody should do this still, but But when I was working, I always have this friend that will talk after work on the Sundays about business ideas and what we're going to start. And we did a market research and on two things, medical marijuana. Back then in Jamaica, it was very fresh, 2015, and food delivery services. There was no formal food delivery service back in 2015. When we did the research, the one that was more plausible was food delivery service, since it was the least labor intensive. So we move along with that one. We posted in the WhatsApp group. Well, I posted in the WhatsApp group. Nobody answered for weeks. Nobody. Till one day somebody messaged me and said, let's do this. We eventually started, but we had a hiccup. We never have any money. That's one thing. And we were both working. So my business partner, which is Mr. Cameron, took leave of it. He was the first one to resign from his job. Like fully resign, like within a matter of less than a month with notice, he just resigned, and eventually I resigned afterwards. And the message is really teamwork, because teamwork and commitment. I was talking on a program actually last night about the commitment, and that's one of the things that I look forward. I look for it in persons. Like, you have to be committed to a.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you guys hear me?
I was hearing you well. I was just interjecting because I wanted you to tell me specifically. I know I'm going to get into a conversation with you right up, on your subtopic right after, but I wanted to just hear if you had any, a succinct nugget about what you would like to share about transitioning from employee to employer.
Yes.
I know that, yeah.
So the nugget is team. Find a team, whether it be a support team, as Mrs. Sterling mentioned. She had her partner with her. So ensure that you have a team in place, a support system, because whenever you make the transition, especially if you make the leap of faith and just quit your job immediately, you will need the support, whether mentally, physically, emotionally, and having a mentor. That's also a great nugget.
Excellent. A mentor, yes. That's always an important part of it, getting somebody who has the experience and expertise to help guide you in a space where you may be new. All right, so I didn't know if does Rochelle or Daniel want to add anything to that? No? All right.
Not for me, because I have a transition from
I have a transition. Yeah. Okay. So is any of this hitting any kind of resonating with you in any way?
Definitely. Definitely.
Okay. All right. So Victor, you started to tell us about, what it's been like for you. Your perspective is make sure you have a team there from your get-go to support you. So we know that you started Cut the Line in 2015 before all of this pandemic thing and this necessity now where you have to have some mechanism to get orders through and the logistics of delivery and all of that. So tell us now, since last year, how has your business changed?
Okay, so my business model hasn't changed, but what has changed is our relationships have changed a lot. Our relationships with restaurants have become far more important. In the beginning, it was mostly a one-way stream. We were mostly in contact with restaurants. Now the stream is open on both sides. Most of our effort is partnership because most restaurant owners are not really the innovative type. They were mostly focused on persons, foot traffic, persons walking into the store. They weren't focused on delivery services. Most restaurants, when we introduced delivery service, they were like, most of our customers, if they want it, they will drive down. No need for delivery service. And some we persuaded to add delivery service, some not. So when this lockdown came in last year, April, March, our phones, I couldn't sleep. It was really that bad. Like middle of the night, restaurant owners calling, how can they add their service? How can we market to their customers to let them know that they are available on our system? Most restaurants not even know that Cut the Line deliver their food, their items. It's just because of the whole pandemic. So our marketing strategy changed a lot. It affected how we market to our customers because now we don't just market for ourselves. We don't just market a delivery service. We also market the restaurants on a whole. We also encourage walk-ins. It's also encouragement, not just for delivery service only. We don't just look at it one side anymore, because even though our business model is not being affected, our industry, the industry in which we operate is also affected. And the restaurant industry is the number one affected industry in all of this, because we depend on socialization, and the pandemic has put a full stop on socializing, gathering, and that's what the industry depends on. And if all the restaurants close, we only deliver food, So if all restaurants close, we don't have anything to deliver. So that's where our marketing strategy is focusing on, to increase foot traffic and delivery service for all our partner and non-partner restaurants.
Okay, it's an interesting point that you made about not necessarily having to change your business model, but you had to pay a special amount of attention to the relationship side of it, how the acquisition, because you would have been stimulated externally to know the targeting. Is it more, did you find that you're communicating more with the end user, the consumers, or you're communicating more with your business to business clients?
Yes, so business to business communication went up a lot. Constant dialogue, constant communication with graphics work, promotions. We do a lot of promotions, partnerships with restaurants to ensure that the customers are aware that this service, this restaurant food is still available for delivery, or if you can make it to the store, they are open, because a lot of restaurants close during the pandemic. So we have to also telling persons that this restaurant is open for service, both for delivery and walk-in.
So your communication had to be ramped up both ways.
Yes, so the marketing strategy had to change a lot. So what me and my team came up with, so we actually went retro with the old mark. Say if you go on our Instagram page, you realize that we have a little neon theme going on, and it's so you're driving past a restaurant, the first thing you're looking out for is the open sign, which is most likely is in a neon vibe, just to capture the whole feel that restaurants are trying to remain open during the pandemic, and we are encouraging persons to order.
What about the influx of new businesses offering delivery services? What impact has that had on you, and how have you responded to that?
Okay, all right then. So the influx of new delivery services, fortunately, it hasn't really affected us. The only way it would affected us is human resource. The human resource pool, especially for riders, is very small pool for committed, hardworking individuals. So that's mostly how it been affecting. But in terms of bottom line, the number of deliveries, the space is young, even though we have started way back. Delivery space in Jamaica is very, very young. It's a very emerging space. So none of the companies who were there from inception would have feel the effects of these pop-ups, one-man delivery companies. But a majority of them have closed down, have closed shops. A matter of fact, over 80% of them have closed. Based
So
on
you are keeping tabs on them.
Yes, we have to keep tabs, they are competitors, and it's part of the risk analysis. So we have persons who track these stuff, but it hasn't affected us. It's the pandemic has more done good to the company than harm, but we don't look at it as from a company standpoint. We actually analyze it from an industry standpoint. That's how we really look at the bigger picture, because we, at the end of the day, Cut the Line is really just a middleman. We are bridging the gap between the restaurants and the customers. We are actually just a virtual space for the restaurant to offer their menu items. So the restaurant is actually the bigger picture.
What business are you in, would you say?
Food and beverage, restaurant industry. Logistics, it just assists us. It's really an enabler.
Interesting. It's interesting. That's not what I thought you would have said. What is your value proposition? What is it that is the focus of what you are offering to the public?
What we offer to the public is an experience to enjoy your favorite meals whenever you like. That's really our proposition, to enjoy your meal from your favorite restaurants. That really the proposition of a convenient time, whether you're at your home or whether you're at your office.
Okay, interesting. I would have thought you'd have said logistics first, but I hear you, and I see if that's what you're focusing on, then that's where you're going to be putting most of your attention and efforts.
Logistics is a technological side of it, and it's really just an enabler, because one can walk to deliver a meal without the fancy app, without the fancy website, without the fancy marketing. The restaurant owner can deliver the meal by themselves, which would maintain all the quality of the experience with even better customer service. So if we can replicate that, that's what the customer really wants, to enjoy the meal. That's what the customer really wants at the end of the day. They want the full restaurant experience with the same quality food. undisturbed. So that's really the proposition.
And how do you give the restaurant experiences? Because I'm just curious now. How do you deliver that?
Okay, that's
I thought you were just bringing me the food.
yeah, that's what most people's that's why most companies don't really last long. We have a lot of training, so let's start there. We try to keep training every week. Really focus on customer service. It's supposed to be a smooth transaction and transition from food to doorstep. And all we maintain all of that is, or really that is, logistics is one, the enabler. So customer places an order, that should be it. Just like at a restaurant, you place an order, you wait on the meal. You don't have to worry about the meal going to take long. They're not going to have what you want.
I'm hearing you.
Yeah, something might be off with the meal. If you can minimize all of that and give the customer a restaurant experience, that's where you keep the customers. It's not really how fast you deliver the meal. That's really just really a byproduct, because that's when customers just get annoyed. That's when really you're moving from customer service now. You're going into a different category. You're no longer selling a food. I'm still selling the food. I'm not really into the logistics business. I'm really just selling the food for the restaurants. If we can maintain that, that's where we'll be here forever, because we're just the middleman selling the food. It's just that we have to keep an high profile because a lot of persons are also in this space.
Okay. It's very important. I'm glad that you are very clear about what your value proposition is, because if you are certain of it, then it is what I see. You are responsible for vision, the vision of the company, right? And creating the strategic, creating the marketing strategies and partnerships. And so if you are the person responsible for that, you need to be very clear about what the focus is on. And that is where you will continue to create your differentiation. So note to everyone else listening, be very clear about what business you're in, because the industry that you're playing doesn't necessarily mean that the value proposition that you're offering to the public is going to be skewed or communicated in the same way or in a direct way. And that is something that persons who may be thinking about shifting from a skill or a profession or a trade into entrepreneurship, you can take the same experience and expertise that you have and not necessarily delve back into the same industry doing the same thing that you've always been doing, but look at how it is that you can use your existing knowledge, your existing skill sets, and pivot, if you will, or regenerate some kind of model that is based on the trends that you're seeing currently, and really just focusing on doing that. So Victor, thank you so much for sharing with us what your thoughts are on the food delivery services in Jamaica. And I'm expecting to see you be the leader, since that is your focus in this industry going forward, many years down the line to come.
One last point. All right, you know, for everybody, because persons come up to me every week. People call me every week asking for advice how they can start a food delivery service in their community, whether it even be in Kingston. People ask me for advice, you know. Mm-hmm. But what I want to say to these entrepreneurs, there are way more ideas out there that are far more profitable, require less resources. For example, persons ask me if I were to start a business today, if I would still start a food delivery company, and the answer is always no. The answer is always no, because I see so much more opportunity now that I would decide to do. Back in 2015, that was a thing back 2015, but the space has evolved so much. Technology in Jamaica has, well, I've lagged behind, but propelled enough for us to introduce easier technology. For example, when we were starting back in 2015, nobody wasn't accepting online payments. Maybe if we were accepting online payments back then, I would have choose a different business. So
Why?
that was
Why?
because with online payment, you have so much more options in terms of one, services, and we're a services business. So that's one. I would definitely, if I would start over now, I would choose a next service business, which have higher profit margins, and you need far less resources. So I think these entrepreneurs need to just research.
Well, this is opportunity evening, Victor. So you know what, throw some of them ideas. So what some of the opportunities are you want to keep them? Should we look for Victor heading up a new company in some other field in the near future?
All right, then call me. Anybody can call me, can DM me.
No, we have opportunity evening right now. Share some of them.
You know, if I may say something, I've been listening to Victor. I really think he made an interesting point about, you know, what his value proposition is, and I really appreciate that, because you really tell persons that, you know, it's really about how you view yourself and not how people view you, and that can be what makes a difference. As it relates to the opportunities and personal acting advice and entrepreneurship, you know, I always tell people that it just starts with you wanting to do something. You do not necessarily have to start with a particular thing that is going to be the it thing. You know, whenever people ask me my opinion, I always say to them, how many clothing stores are out there? A gazillion. How many restaurants? A gazillion, right? I think a lot of what it comes back to is what you're looking for. Are you looking to get filthy rich and have a house up on the hill and be able to have a yacht? Or are you looking for contentment? Do you want to just, you know, have a family, be able to live, be able to go on a 1 and 2 vacation? I think it starts there. In addition to that, in terms of opportunity, you know, don't look at what is there right now. Because when I started out, I never thought an opportunity was there for me to be where I am today, right? Always look beyond what is there right now. What you look at is internally as to what resources you have, what is your skill set. And what you find is that one of the things that I learned is that just being in the presence of other entrepreneurs, just being out there, the ideas will come. So I would say to the person who is thinking about stepping out and, you know, and wanting that next big idea, is to take one step, and you'll find that once you get in it, the opportunities will emerge, the light bulbs will start going off because you're in that space. You know what I mean? So don't wait on somebody to give you that next bright idea. It's there in you, but it's just for you to immerse yourself in the space, in the entrepreneurial space, in you know, among other entrepreneurs, and it will come to light.
Sarika, you said the people them don't have to be passionate. Daniel, you're jumping in?
Yeah, I'm jumping in because I see it a little bit different, and
Yeah.
at somehow that
You're freezing. You're freezing, Daniel. Daniel?
I can hear you. Are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you, but I'm not seeing you anymore.
Are you-
You are freezing a little bit. Okay, so you're back on screen now.
Okay, but you're hearing me.
I'm hearing you now.
And you're hearing me?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
You're still
So
frozen, but go
I
ahead,
think
you
of
can hear you.
entrepreneur. Okay, I think of entrepreneurship more of solving a problem. I think that's what businesses do. They solve problems. And I think that from
Daniel, oh, I think you're gone now. Where did you go? Daniel, I'm gonna suggest turning off your camera for a little bit to see if that helps with the clarity in the bandwidth. If it frees up some bandwidth so that we can hear you better, because you're breaking up.
Are you hearing me now?
Yeah.
I flop myself. It usually work good. Why I flop me like this? But I was saying that I see entrepreneurship as solving problems, and I think Victor may have been some sort of a prophet in 2015 when he thought about cut the line before all of us were clamoring to find people to deliver things for us. And maybe because he already solved that problem and there are no other people in the space solving the problem is why he saw like, oh my God, I wouldn't choose this thing. But that's how I see entrepreneurship. It's solving a problem. What is the problems around you? So when persons ask me the same question they probably ask Sarika or Victor about, what should I go into? What do you think I should do? I'm like, what is the problem you're passionate about solving? Because businesses that don't solve problems, they're hobbies, because chances are they're not going to be successful or profitable. You have to have people who have a problem, who need something that your business supplies. That's how you get consumers, in my opinion.
Dana?
Yes.
Dana?
Yes.
I'm hearing you, but I'm hearing like you have a fan close to you.
No?
It sounds like you have Orky and Charlie outside.
Oh my, let's close the door. It's probably that.
I love that, Daniel. But just to add to that, I think you can create, because not all the time what is happening out there, persons know that the problem is there to be solved. Sometimes they don't even know. People are fine walking to the restaurant to pick up their food until the line come and say, hey, we can deliver your food, So sometimes, in addition to what you're saying, we can also create a need and solve it, or show people where there actually is a need that they probably don't even know them did have, and then solve it as well. But I totally agree with you.
I'm really
No, man, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just adding to it, so that I'm just saying that the problem don't have to already exist for everybody to see. But you
that's
can
what Apple does.
Mm-hmm.
Victor, you wanted to add something to that?
Yes, I'm on Mrs. Sterling's side with the whole creating need, especially with the era in which we are in. We are in a consumer era where persons consume a lot. You don't really need to solve a problem. There really doesn't need to be a need. You create an item because there are products and services out there that are solving problems and persons not using them, because what's the forefront now of you getting your service and product out? You got to market. You got to market and present your service and product in a way that persons will purchase it. And if you really look at, we don't really need anything more else on this earth, we don't really need nothing more on this earth. But as humans, we have an entrepreneurial spirit, and we like create, and we love to create. So why not profit from it? So there are so much things to create right now, and I tell persons all the while, if persons come to me right now and ask me for idea, the first thing probably me tell is Google the top 100 startups, whether in India, the US, or Africa, and I can guarantee that in Jamaica we don't have 15 out of any one of those 100. We are so far behind when it comes on to innovation. We have a lot of entrepreneurs, but we need more innovators. We are far behind when it comes on to being innovative. For a culture that have a lot of good sales persons. Everybody in Jamaica will sell something good. Like
why you put that? Is your sneaky way somewhere with Junal and
no. Maybe, but Jamaica and
we're very creative people, yes.
Yes, me and my friends talk about entrepreneurial because I'm a part of TIC, so I see business owners every day, and if you ask any one of them, they will tell you that if they were for start now, they wouldn't start the business that they currently operate. But persons not in this space are looking to start a business or looking to replicate their businesses. And there are so many other ideas out there, and it goes back to research. You really have to look into this space, really look what you're passionate about as well. That really play a factor. If you're passionate.
Sorry, Victor. I just wanted to say that I think that the three of you made good points. And I think there is a place where all your points converge to speak to or frame how a person can enter into arriving at a viable business. I think it can start off the way Sarika describes it, whereas you may not be a passionate entrepreneur, but you have some kind of interest and desire to self-actualize and to just have a little bit more control over how your work life and your economic base is sourced and sustained. And so you explore it from that perspective. But then I also agree with what Dania said, which is at the end of the day, it still needs to meet a need. It still needs to solve a problem. Otherwise, you do not have a viable business opportunity. And so you talking about doing the research now, Victor, also adds to that mix to say, okay, so it could be that I have experience, talent, combined with a drive to express myself and to actualize some other aspects of myself. And I'm going to use research, like you're saying, go and do some research and gather information to find out what problems out in the world that don't really need any more new things can be provided to a set of people who may not have access to this thing. Because innovation is not necessarily saying you have to invent something. As you're saying, you can copy it, you can look around to see if it exists somewhere else that does not necessarily provide access to where you are, and then voila. So I don't think either of you are really saying something that doesn't add value to this whole point of how do you get into entrepreneurship, how do you create a sustainable business. Yeah, I like the idea that we are getting, pointers about starting where you are, adding business principles, which is doing the research to put things in place, and ensuring, like Dana is saying, the marketer in Dana is saying, make sure that you are meeting some market need. So I check off all of those points. So Victor, this when you said your final thing that you wanted to add, and you mentioned the payment thing, I actually had a question about that, where I wanted to ask if the hastening of ensuring that other online payment is now more accessible, has that opened up anything for your business model in terms of the revenue side of it? Yeah, what do you want to answer that?
Oh. Coming again. So online payment was always a big thing within the company. For one, we didn't possess it. So that was always a need for us from day one. We were always working towards, that was always a goal for us to be able to accept payment online. With the ENDS program and partnering with WePay and other online payment gateways to accept services, we were working on this in 2019. We really got this in 2000. We got it in 2019, but it was really a soft launch. We wasn't really telling persons that we accept card payments online. It was really, if you're a regular customer, you will see it on the website and you will utilize it. So it wasn't really, we were pushing it out there because we ourselves didn't fully understand it as yet. We were still, it was really still young within the company, meaning the technology, the remittance factors, charges, the whole back-end work. With COVID 2020 come now, it was really pushed to the forefront. Government created ENDS with a PSOJ, and we were part of the pilot project back in Portmore. If anybody remember that, Portmore was the first place was able to operate after curfew. I'm not sure if everybody remember that. The pilot project was in Portmore, and what we really did was we stopped accepting card payment upfront. That was really a brave move for us. So we stopped accepting card payments upfront. It was really just either cash or you pay us online. That was really a brave move for us. and it really paid off. Now a majority of our payments are online. At sometimes we use that as a way to what we call it, when we have a surge in deliveries and we really can't manage, we turn off the cash payments. So yeah, really does order online only. So that really help us to manage fluctuations at times. Without that system in place, we normally have to just shut down the whole system and call it a day if we can't manage. And it was also a method of security as well for riders riding around a lot of cash. That was a big security concern from day one. If you look on our balance sheet, but for 2016, 17, and 18, it was our alarming amount because riders continuously get robbed. So we were always in the pursuit of online payment. And now it's just a must-have for any online e-commerce company. No, it's just a staple. You can't say you're an e-commerce company if you're not accepting payments online. It's just not right. But it took years. We were actually one of the first companies in Jamaica to be using this software. Persons were before us, which is a good thing. They kind of help smooth out the rough roads before we jump on. But when we were talking to banks about online payment back in 2015, 16, it was like gospel. It was, persons was like, you all right then. So I know persons that they would have to use a overseas payment gateway. So when you pay online in Jamaica, the funds will then go to America, and then you'd have to wire transfer it back to Jamaica, which would eat into your profits. And then you'd have to wait on that cash. So you have to manage a cash flow. So it was just too much for us. We never do that. We'll just card machines, but card machines then have limits because every Friday the card machines went down. Everybody know that in Jamaica.
Okay.
And then
Okay,
it was just a lot of headache. Accepting card payment online, it free up growth because it don't make sense to have a rider or driver out there that doesn't have a card machine. That mess up your logistics. You have to be pick and choose which RM can get. With online payment, the system is automatic. You just set it and forget it. We only need persons to verify the orders and addresses. That's it. The system does the rest.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap your section now, Victor. Thank you. But I'm going to leave a question for you to mull over for towards the end of the conversation. I want you to, since you said, I have said it more than once, that you would not start this business now. And you would not necessarily advise anyone to start this business, the same business now. I want to challenge you to think of any area of business or any, I want to focus on this business or some element of what you're doing now to see if there is potential for diversification, expansion, or pivoting from a central or from a piece or element of what you're currently doing now. And I'll come back to that towards the end of the conversation.
All right.
All right, thanks. Yeah. I want to talk to the content people now. Dana, you're still with us? I'm not seeing you.
Yes, I am.
Awesome. So, Miss Broadtail, I tried to remember the first time I hear this name, Dana Beckford. I think I did see it on a swimsuit. I want swimsuit, Miss Dana first.
Always in a swimsuit. Always in a swimsuit.
But nevertheless, I can't remember right now, but I know that it was always a very bright light, bright energy, high energy that accompanies you in whatever it is that you're doing and wherever you go. So I want you to just tell us how it is that you started your own business. I know you have your
okay.
expert. Yes, go ahead, take it away.
Okay, so I started my business, my Broadtail Designs business, completely by accident. So I've always been full figured. I'm from Discovery Bay in St. Anne, where the famous Puerto Rico beach is. I know you all know it because it's a popular beach in Jamaica. And that's where I grew up, like 5 minutes from the beach. We could walk there every Saturday. And so I was always going to the beach, and I was always a little fat girl. And then I was a fat teenager, and then I'm a fat adult. And I could not find swimsuits to fit me that I really liked. So there were swimsuits, but they were very frumpy. I didn't like the colors because I've always been fashionable. And my mother had one black one that it was a black monokini halter. And she said she had it from the 70s, and I love it. And that's all I used to wear till the poor swimsuit rings out. It couldn't go no further. So I started to design swimsuits and have my mother seamstress make it for me, but it was only for me. You know, I was just doing that because I liked it. That followed me throughout my UWE years, but I was only doing it for myself. And then in 2015, I did a myomectomy, which is removing fibroids. I had about 15 of them, and I removed them, and I stopped working at the company that I was working at the time. And I went home to my mother for her to help me to heal. And we went to the beach, my best friend and I was in one of the swimsuits that I designed. It was a asymmetrical polka dot black swimsuit. I remember it. And I was at the beach. My best friend took a picture for me because my mother said salt water heal everything. So I'm meaning at the water. I say, yeah, I got heal up the cut we just get. And she took a picture of me and I posted it on Facebook. And a bunch of people were telling me how they love this swimsuit and where I got it. And I was like, where I got it, what do you mean? I designed it, it's mine. And they were like, if I would design one for them. And I'm like, would you pay for it? And they said yes. And I did a little market research to say, is it that this problem that I was always having in trying to find swimsuits that I loved for myself because I was full figured? Were other full figured women going through this? And yes, they were. And so the business started. That's how Broadtail Design started. And I said to myself when I was doing the business plan and thinking about, you know, how am I going to empower women to feel as confident as I felt when I went to the beach or a beach party or anywhere else that resort wear is worn, like a hotel. What am I really selling? Is it swimsuit or is it confidence? Because it's really how you feel in other outfit. You know, some people may have on one outfit where you not like at all, and them are one in it because they feel confident in it. So I figured out very early in the business that it wasn't really about swimsuits, it was about confidence. And so that's how I started Broadtail Designs. I actually have two companies. I have a communication company that's Broad Axe Communication because we're working for the Broad. And I did communication for both my degrees. And so if you want me to just jump into the pivoting of the pandemic, you want me to go there now?
Go everywhere.
All right, I'm gone. So since 2015, we were there selling resort wear, so swimsuits and cover-ups, and you know, we're beach people, and that did go on for me. And then in 2017, a friend of mine, you may all know him because he was in the media recently, Andrew Bellamy, he has a carnival band called Jamaica, and he said to me, you know, we want to start up this band, and I really feel like you need to be a part of it because full-figured women are always complaining that they can't find carnival costumes to fit them. And I'm like, well, you say a while ago, because I love carnival. I'm always when I go pick up my carnival suit, whether in Jamaica or Trinidad, and I said, women must put that something here over my eye because it now cover nothing else, right? So I was like, I jumped on the opportunity. I'm like, yes, I want to create carnival costumes for full-figured women because we don't usually have nothing for wear and we're tired for jumping on the road in a t-shirt. So we did that until, of course, 2020 happened. And so, you know, say, my business get a huge hit when the pandemic started because beach, river, lock. 1 month before carnival shut down. I'll know we can't have carnival, right? So I was in the tourism for the hoteliers and the entertainment sphere, and all of that just locked down for the pandemic. And I'm sitting there going, so what gonna happen right now? What me I gotta do right now? And then that's where all of us were home in lockdown, and I started to see that a lot of people were posting themselves exercising at home and all of that. So the first thing that I actually did was, this is where my degree with my passion, because my degrees are in communication, but my passion is in fashion and making women feel confident, a convergence happened, because I'm like, hold on, wait. So the people who are full figured, I'm not seeing them on my IG page or my YouTube doing no exercise whatsoever. Like me, them just to sit down and watch the people them exercise, right? And we may all be depressed, right? Because we all lock up. Some of we not work. Some of we not used to this work from home, because I also have a 2-year-old. And let me tell you something, work from home is not a thing with a 2-year-old. Right now, I'm at my best friend's apartment doing this live because he would be all up on this screen. So I'm like, what am I gonna do? So I collaborated with one of my friends who's a yoga instructor. And I'm like, boy, I feel like the full figured lady them stress out because I'm going to see them exercise and I go on with themselves in the pandemic. Would you do some IG lives with me where I feel crank up myself because I just been on this couch, where we do yoga together and we invite people to do it with us? Me not even did know, so the Gleaner, I did not call the Gleaner on this one. I called none of my media friends. They picked up the story and made a big deal out of it. I'm like, whoa, what is going on here? Then I said to myself, so that ran for a little while. Then I said to myself, all right, cool. So I can't sell swimsuit, can't sell cover-ups, carnival not happen, cash cow dead, because the carnival was the cash cow. So after we do carnival, we can do whatever the hell else we want for the rest of the year. We got the capital for it. None of that was not happening. I'm like, what am I going to do now? And I was like, oh, why did I start this business? It was never really about swimsuits or cover-ups or carnival costumes. It was about confidence. Because one of the things I realized when I have a broad tail client come to me about swimsuits, I spend at least 30 to 45 minutes talking to her about why she chose my company to buy a swimsuit, and she's telling me all her experiences. And I find that women, when we share our experiences one-on-one, we don't actually feel like other people have these experiences, which, remember, that's how I start the business. Me that I make swimsuit for myself, and I realized that other people were experiencing what I experienced. And I'm like, okay, I feel like I need to talk about women's experiences, because one of the problems I was having in my own business pre-pandemic is that sometimes I wouldn't be able to post my clients on IG or Facebook because, one, they weren't at a confidence place in their mind that they want to wear the swimsuit to the beach, but they don't really want you to post them on the World Wide Web. And two, they were like, I'm not so sure that I want to tell my story. So Kimala Bennett, I don't know if you know her, she owns the lab. I used to work with her back in 2015, and she had a seminar where she had a lady that I don't know why she's escaping me right now, was talking about marketing. And when I told her about my business, she said that she feels that I need to have a podcast. This was back in 2018. I had a baby, lots of things happened, and podcast never happened. And I'm like, I feel like this is my pivot. I think I need to have a podcast where I'm talking about women's stories, about confidence, wherever they are on the spectrum, so that we can all share. Because tell you what, Kira, studies in communication prove through this pandemic period, and these studies started in South Korea and China, where the pandemic hit first, China, of course, you know, that 60% of consumers were in their homes, and so they were consuming media products and not actually physical products. So if 60% of the people who used to buy from media, we had to watch some media, whether it be YouTube, traditional media, or digital social media, then we need to be there as well. And so I started my podcast and YouTube series called Being Broadtail. To be honest, I really only wanted to do podcast in the beginning because I'm like, some of my clients, they don't really want to show themselves. So why would I put them in a YouTube series? But then my producer said, what people like for hear and see you. That's why I'm glad to see my video I work back, because when you say I couldn't see me, I almost have one little heart attack. So people like to see me talk. So my clients would feed off my own energy, and it would be okay for it to be a YouTube series. So we started in March 2021, which was such a blessing for me because it was also Women's History Month, you know, and it's also the month that we celebrate International Women's Day. So I actually had the first podcast that week, and it has just been tremendous. It is how my brand stayed relevant in the pandemic, because through telling stories with full-figured women of different sizes who were on different parts and paths of their own confidence journey, my brand kept relevant. When the tourism sector opened up and people could actually go to villas and hotels, they started to buy swimsuits again. And because it's on YouTube, I opened up to a new audience in North America and UK, and we started to get more of those types of orders, because usually I would only get orders from the diaspora during carnival time.
So, Daniel, this is the reason why people follow you, right? Because of that energy.
Thank you.
I'm here thinking to myself, this lady says she loves fashion, she loves communication, and you're here to talk about the perspective of content creation. And we're seeing how the convergence of those two things have created what you're talking about, like the podcast.
Yep.
And I just want to get from you, how would you describe yourself? Because here we have you as brand communication consultant, and you're an entrepreneur. And it could also be said that you're a designer. I know you're a podcaster. I would say it's the same value proposition question that I'm asking you. What is the offering that you have that remains consistent along the theme?
I call myself a confidence advocate and a vibes creator. That's what I do. So no matter which business I'm in, that's what I do. I create the vibes, I make people feel better, and I always advocate for confidence, more so in women, but for everybody. Because let me tell you something, Kira, and all my other panelists and everybody who wants to be an entrepreneur, there are people out there doing things that you can do better just because they are confident enough in their own skills that them can do it. I know honestly enough people out there, there's some things on I said, that's something and I said properly, but guess what? I always give them the kudos because they are confident enough to try it. You can succeed in whatever you do when you're confident about it. And a lot of people on the flip side are suffering through depression, through self-doubt, even in this time of pandemic where a lot of people have lost their jobs and just don't know how to navigate generally with all the things that are happening because of that lack of confidence and self-doubt in what they can do.
Yeah, you're so right. Content though, can you, for the person who is listening who is not yet familiar, I don't know if it's possible, but if not yet familiar with content creation, you and Rochelle are in the same field somewhat. What is this thing about content creation and what does that mean really?
Content is information generation and the mechanisms that you use to get to your audience. So it's still a part of marketing. It's content marketing. We have been doing it all our lives, but we're using different channels now to get to people, because for any type of communication to happen, you must have an ideal target audience. You must be trying to reach somebody. And so back in the day, we used to only use traditional media. No, first of all, back in the day, we use word of mouth. From somebody said them like it, you possibly will try it because this other person had a testimony. Then that's the same thing that social media do with influencer marketing. People were saying they like something that you're doing, but that you have experienced or used, but this time we're using different mechanisms. So because most of the things move from being product service based one-on-one physical, because social distancing and physical distancing has become the order of the day, persons are now on virtual. So how is it you still get your content out to your ideal target audience using virtual means? Because that's where most of the audience is right now. And so this is where the capturing of your content, whether by video or photography, is to need to be up, because people are now watching and there's a thing called content and virtual fatigue that you have approximately 5 to 10 seconds to grab their attention, or they may go somewhere else because there's so much out there. It's my internet unstable. Are you still hearing me?
Still hearing you. It's just that you're freezing, but we're hearing you.
Still hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, right. So content will always be king. And right now, video has showed that they are king, because even for me, I was so surprised that I thought I was taking great likes and comments on them. But then I realized that when I started doing more videos for the brand, I was receiving even more traction from it. So this period, even though I am a brand communicator, I have learned things about my target audience and my own brand in the pandemic based on the things that I've had to do. Also, one of the things that I saw that worked for me and a lot of other brands, to Kira, is collaboration. I've always been a collaborator, but I did not recognize how impactful it could be in this time, because we're all facing the same pandemic. The whole world are going through it global. And so a lot of entrepreneurs were going through the same set of things, and we have different products and services that we need our target audience to see. And so what better way to do that than to collaborate? In doing so, we lessen the stress, and especially the financial stress in getting things done, because I am an advocate for bartering of services. And also what we do is open up the fans or the followers of each other to the businesses. So now I collaborated a lot with Rev for jewelry, for my swimsuits, and when I was doing Bean Broadtail, and so that up to Rev's followers and consumers, and it opened their brand up to mine. So things like that really worked for me during the pandemic where collaboration was concerned. And then I started to open up to more corporates in terms of it's so much not about swimsuits and cover-ups anymore, because through the Being Broadtail podcast and YouTube series, I had corporate people who were also clamoring for new ways to reach their audiences come onto the podcast as sponsors. So Sagicor was my title sponsor, and they were able to have an ad during my show, and they were able to have a guest during my show to sell their products. Appleton was a sponsor. It was always on my set. I love Appleton. It was always on my set. It opened them up to my consumer base. I also had Brunswick on, because during that time we're telling people you still need to eat healthy and be healthy, and what that does to your body and brain function. And I had Morgan Screek, who has worked well with JBDC in the past as well, because a confident body also need clean skin, right? And so I opened up to so much more corporates that would not be a part of my client base if I was just still selling swimsuits and cover-ups. So even though I know the pandemic has had so much negative effects on the economy and people's lives, it has really also benefited my company.
Okay, so content, your description of content for me sounds like communication.
A form of
communication that is focused on influencing. And so which is why when you mentioned the traditional stuff and stuff, I'm thinking about the newspaper ads and the TV ads, regular what do you call it, print and electronic stuff. It's just that, as you said, the platforms have expanded on the internet that allow for just about anybody to be online. And that leads me to my next question, which is this for anybody? Can anybody become a content creator? Because it seems so easy. Everybody can do a TikTok thing, something. Man. Is it for everybody? Like how does one make the distinction between creating content as a business versus just creating content to be I don't know.
Well, for content to be impactful, you must have a team and you must have resources, and that may come. First of all, let me start this way. Let me back up. For some people, content creation is easy because they're great at it. It comes natural to them. And so a lot of the influencers that we had on digital media, this pandemic worked for them because they were already doing it. And so people are now looking at them more, and this was their thing from before. They chose that career. For others, it's not as easy going viral and all of these things. I don't think I'm viral yet, no, because viral does not have a format or a manual. Sometimes you go viral with something that you didn't even know was gonna go viral. Some things you can plan a strategy for, but then some things you can't. And I will give a small example of couple of years ago, the electricity went out. Do you remember that? I don't know if you watch. Gone again?
Say that again. Begin that sentence again.
Oh, I was saying that sometimes you can have a strategy for going viral, but then some things just happen and you're not aware that you would go viral with it. And so I was going to give an example now of a couple of years ago in the NFL where the electricity went out and everybody was like, oh my God, because you know the ads that they place in the TV broadcast of the NFL are so expensive, everybody feeling like them lose their money. And quickly, the content creator of Oreo, you remember that? Mm-hmm. They did a quick ad to say you can still dunk your Oreo in the dark. And that went viral. Now, if the light never cut off, then them couldn't do that, and then it wouldn't go viral. So it really is about thinking on your feet of how to still reach a target audience without falling flat, really. And so you need people who are creative minds to come up with things. That's one. Remember, I told you that I was going to only do a podcast and it ended up being a YouTube series, which I think was a great idea because I feel like the podcast wouldn't have had the same effect as the YouTube series with it. And so you have people you need people who are forward thinking. You need good equipment in this time. So whether it is a good phone or a good camera, because as I said to you before, because people are looking online, if your thing shabby and dark, it just not gonna work out for you. Also, in creating content, you have to continuously think about your ideal target audience. What is their psychosocial profile? What do they want to hear? What are their dreams and aspirations? You have to know what they want, or else your content is going to fall flat. In this time, the studies have proven that what people wanted during this pandemic was they wanted entertainment because then depressed all away for a little while was just a toops of depressed. Some of us a lot of depressed. So they wanted entertainment. They wanted to not feel as if you were pushing everything in their face in terms of the hard advertising. So they wanted and they wanted to know that you were human just like them. So the things that were being filmed in people's homes, this is why we love Meet the Mitchells. I'm sorry. Meet the Mitchells. This is why we love them so much, because they brought us into their homes. We saw Romain Virgo doing it with his family as well. People wanted to know that you were human just like them, you were going through things just like them, and they wanted entertainment. So if you really look at the things that hit off during the pandemic and that had a whole lots of views and likes, to see what their formula is, you get to understand that around the globe, what people wanted is to feel like they were human, not feeling like you were trying to sell them things because they never really have the money. But if you sell them properly in the covert way, they end up buying it and they want it to be entertained. Okay,
Dana, I'm going to bring Rochelle into the conversation because you both are playing in the same arena. Rochelle?
Yes, are you hearing me?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Great. All right, so Rochelline, as you are called online.
Yes.
5.5 million views, really?
Yes.
And 70,000 followers, yeah?
Across all the platforms, yes.
How long it took you to amass all of this?
5 years, but
years.
I'd say 1 year of consistently doing it. So I've been active on social media, on YouTube in particular, which is where I have the largest following. I've been doing YouTube for 5 years, but it wasn't until last year, January of 2020, where I was more deliberate and more pointed in the content, putting a strategy around it, and just going after it in a more strategic way, that I started to really grow from what would have been 4,000 at the time to now 60-something thousand on YouTube.
So Rochelline, what makes you, asking Dana basically, what makes the average person online who creates entertaining content different from yourself, you're doing this as a business. This is what you do to earn money and to make a living. For you, help me to understand what is the distinction. What do you do differently? How do you operate differently? And I guess I'm trying to ask you in a broad way, how is it that you monetize this?
Okay, well, for me, I mean, there are several differentiating factors that each person or each content creator has. And I won't say that any is better than the other. It's just what makes that person unique or ideal for what they're doing. And also, it also depends on the platform and the audience that they're targeting. So for me, my content surrounds Jamaica, lifestyle in Jamaica, and it's been done in an informative and an entertaining way. So my objective is always to ensure that at the end of each video that I put out or each content that people learn and people are entertained at the same time. So that, I believe, is my differentiating factor, in addition to my personality and just this curious mind that I bring to it, because a lot of the topics a lot of the content are content that sometimes people would believe that it's an older person should be handling that topic. But here I am, this millennial with my curious brain coming in, asking these questions that sometimes seem so silly to people. And I'm really curious about it, and to understand that there are people like me that are curious about it. So for example, I did a video where I went to the countryside showcasing just the lifestyle in rural parts of Jamaica. And I was being introduced to a pit latrine. So I asked the gentleman, how does it flush? And of course, my older fogies were saying, oh, you don't know how the toilet flush. And I'm like, I've never used one. I'm born and raised in Kingston. I've never seen one. I've heard of it, but I'm going to ask the questions that, people are either too afraid to ask or too ashamed to ask, because that's just who I am. And that's what I bring to the table. In terms of monetizing it, no, there are several ways that your content can be monetized. And again, content can be just about in any form and across several different platforms. So for me in YouTube, working in the YouTube space, primarily it's being monetized by what is called YouTube ad revenue. And this is where Google, as you know, Google owns YouTube. Google pays you for the audience that you have, the reach that you have. So they put advertisements in and around and across and throughout your videos. And each time that advertisement plays, you get a percentage of whatever that advertiser had paid YouTube to advertise in your videos. That's definitely one of the ways to monetize. And the main way, there's also sponsored posts. Like Dana mentioned before in her podcast, she has all of these different local corporate sponsors that she works with as openers or getting an ad slot in her content. Is the same for me. I'll have local or international sponsors that would reach out and they'll get an ad spot depending on what their arrangement is. There's also affiliate marketing that can be done. And this is where a person or a company would give you a link to put anywhere across your social media platform. When someone clicks that link and it opens up to their page and they purchase a product, you get a commission from that sale. So there's that option as well. There's subscription services like Patreon, for example, where you can have a community that pays to be a part of your community, right? There's virtual courses that content creators can do, or ebooks that they can put out and essentially monetize it, because they now would have an audience and they're able to sell to that audience. And especially if they're, adept in a particular area, they can share that knowledge, share some on YouTube for free, and then take it off of YouTube or off of social media and get paid for that. There is consultations, one-on-one consultations that people can do, having now built a fan base, having built your credibility, having had the knowledge and the skills and expertise. You can have one-on-one consultations for whatever topic it is, and people will pay for that service. There are content creators that sell merch and memorabilia and arts and stock photos. So you have people who would sell, like, for example, go to Dunn's River, take a beautiful photo of the fall, and then sell it online for other persons who need it to use in a project. Or so you have these websites you can upload it to, and each time the person needs it, they pay the right to use it. You know, the public appearances, just to show up after having built your fan base, your audience, after having built your presence in the space, then people pay you now to just come and appear at their places, at their events. So there are myriad of ways, and that's just some of it. There are myriad of ways that content creators can earn from, but it's about having the mindset and looking at your content that you're creating as more than just a hobby and more of a business. Look at yourself and your brand of positioning it to be a business and a little less of a hobby. Initially, a lot of times the content creators start out as doing it as a hobby, like I did, because I said I've been doing it for 5 years. And for the first 4 years, it was just me posting haphazardly. But towards the beginning of last year, my mindset shifted to where now I was more strategic in what I was posting. So my content now surrounds promoting the lifestyle in Jamaica, the positives of Jamaica, from houses and different things like that.
Rochelle,
Yeah.
as you were speaking just now, because you spent like a good 4 minutes or so literally listing different models for online business. And I'm looking, I have to go back through the little bio what you send, and I look for which part you go content media school or something, because it sounds like you need a degree in this thing, right, Dana? Like, are you offering courses in this?
In fact, I am. So I'm going to encourage the audience to keep watching and the Russian platforms across all social media, Instagram in particular, and YouTube, where I'll announce in the future when those courses will be out. So yes.
This is where she says #more content coming.
Yes.
I love it. I love this two of you together. Like, but it as I keep thinking, I go to TikTok when I want to unwind at the end of the day. I don't do a lot of social media because I find it overwhelming. But when I found TikTok, I find it to be the least intrusive one. It doesn't have ads or anything like that. I just go on, I get a few.
TikTok is the most intrusive platform. It's the one that has the most data on you. TikTok, the algorithm is set up in a way to track your eyes and how you look at it and what you're looking at, because it's a never-ending scroll. It's the one that TikTok knows more about you than anybody else. So keep going.
Okay.
Just to let you know, Kira, they know about you.
They know about you.
Yeah, I start to feel a little naked. No. Like, do I need to make sure I'm always fully clothed when I'm using TikTok?
You probably should.
Oh my goodness. But I made the reference because I find it entertaining, and I don't see how it is that you actually get to the point where you're spitting out the information about how you monetize this kind of, I call it frivolity. I'm there to just let my brain go to mush for a few minutes or so. But there has to be, you said last year is when you started to take it seriously. When Dania was talking, Dania said that, you know, you need to make sure that you have a team with a structure and the right equipment and the right talent and be authentic. And you kind of reinforce that as well about, you know, being true to yourself, you know, just being who you are. But then you're coming in with this, you also mentioned having objectives and having a focus. And Dania also expressed that in terms of she knows what it is that she's communicating. You also have said, we talk a bit about was it brand identity sometimes, and you yourself as the content creator, become a brand and having an identity that you have to be authentic to. But that's just one side. How do you transition your mind? What happened in your case, Rashidin, that made you decide, okay, this is not, from this point on, I'm going to start to focus on this and really make it into something more than just a hobby?
Well, I mean, you see, when I started, as I said, it was a hobby, but it was always something that I've been doing a lot of research on, and something that I think that I could add some value to that space. But I wasn't doing it in the way that I know that I could, and I wasn't earning from it in any way from before. And I don't feel like I was reaching my fullest potential in it. I feel like there's a lot more that I could do. So it was at that point where I was like, when you start the year off and you go with the 2020 New Year resolution, I'd be like, all right, 2020 are the year, and this me I could do. And then that's kind of what kind of propelled that, where I'm like, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. Of course, it started out slow. And of course, it wasn't the easiest, and it wasn't earning at first, but I kept pushing and I kept doing it. And the pandemic presented an opportunity also, because while persons were inside and fatigued and bored and depressed, and I took the opportunity to go outside and get the content so that they could have something to watch. So it's that mindset shift into, okay, I'm no longer going to just be a consumer of content. I need to be the content creator. I need to be the person. And then everything just keep happening. And as I'm doing it, I'm growing, I'm learning more about myself, I'm learning more about the space, I'm learning how to transition, I'm learning more how to edit, I'm learning more of these things, and it kind of just is now where it is.
You said now that since you started to do this in a more focused way, that you're actually collaborating with corporations now to come up with marketing strategies and social media campaigns and so on. How did that happen? Were you the one to initiate this, or did people reach out to you?
Both. It works both ways. Some reached out, some I had targeted. Again, with having a plan, having a focus, having a vision of where I want to be and what I want to achieve. There are certain brands that, that I have in the back of my head that I want to work with, I would love to work with. And then after having put out the work and people now see what I'm capable of and the quality of work that I put out, then other persons now start reaching out to me, other businesses. Okay, I'd like to work with you too. So it's a little of both.
Okay. And for the ones that you have to reach out to, is it that you go to them with ideas first, or what is just, if you care to share your strategy for getting
most certain ideas, because nobody just wants to hear that I want to work with you. First you have to let them know what's in it for them, because essentially it's a business for them. I'm going to be getting paid to promote something. How are they going to benefit from me promoting? So showing them what's in it for them and also knowing what's in it for me, then the approach.
Of the many different ways that you mentioned about how it can be monetized, how many of them are you using roughly?
I haven't counted, but several.
Wow. So is it safe to say you're trying at least to go through at least 70?
I'm trying to do them. I haven't covered all of them, but I'm trying and hope to. It would be nice to have all of them, but I'm not quite there yet.
Just to test and see what it is like, because I mean you could end up creating and selling models, like what is the content business models for content creation. That's
the intention, and that's what I mentioned earlier that you should look out for. Just follow me at Rosalind on Instagram and YouTube and watch the space.
Rosalind, you have to spell it. You have to spell it.
Yeah.
You have to spell it.
Sorry, it's ROCHIELIN. Would you like the origin?
Okay, thank you so much, Rosalind. So we're coming down now to the wrapping up hour for our opportunity evening. And I want to invite both Dane, well, all of you. I think Sarika had to leave. She had an engagement that she had to attend to. But I asked you, Victor, a question. I don't know if you've come up with an answer for it yet, but if you haven't, I want to just ask the remaining ladies, Dania and Rochelle, to make some closing comments based on the conversations that we've had so far.
Can you first repeat the question, please?
Okay, so the question I asked you is based on your statements about not choosing, you would not choose the business that you're in now. So if you were to start a business now and you didn't start it in 2015, you wouldn't choose this now. I asked you to consider any new opportunities or ways in which you could expand what you currently do or diversify or pivot from some elements in your current business model.
Okay, all right then. Good questions. Persons have been asked that questions before for multiple different reasons. Commitment. I'm always committed to a project, so I would not like really pivot into something totally different from outside my current forte. So even if I decided to pivot, it will be something that I already have an understanding of. So I can already pull on the resources I currently have and use it in that industry.
Have you been looking at it?
Yes, definitely. We have been looking at, the team has been looking at it. We have identified a particular area and we're zooming in on it currently. You guys can keep an eye open for service, whatever it is.
Yes. Keep it under wraps. That's fine.
Yes, but it's definitely, but it's something close to our resources. It wouldn't go out of our way too far to pull off the project.
Great. And I wanted you to share that, Victor, because I want everybody to consider that business as a life cycle. And so it's in even to touch on some of the things that were said about, you have to maintain relevance based on a need and a problem that is still existing. But I mean, these things shift, the spaces that operate in shift and change. And so you have to change with it. And I want the persons listening to understand that you have to think about this whilst you're still in the business that you are in. You have to keep an eye open for the opportunities that could be emerging. And one way to do this is to look at all areas of what you're doing and stick up in one area and kind of spread yourself.
Also, one of the ways that we are pivoting is partnerships. So instead of starting new stuff or branching off and start something all by yourself, we are doing partnerships outside of our industries.
Which makes sense.
So instead of to do our creation, we are partnering with persons outside of our industry. And that would also widen our scope of customers.
Yeah, because especially in your case where it could be said that you are straddling two industries, which would be logistics side of things, maybe even could be services in terms of business services as well as the food services industry. So you have quite a bit of room to play in.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so guys, this has been Victor Clements, the Managing Director of Doorstep Jamaica, parent company of Cut the Line. And you spoke earlier on the emergence and growth of food delivery services in Jamaica and made some very useful points. Thank you so much for coming on, Victor.
You're welcome.
Now, Sarika, I see you are here. I thought you had left. I'd asked for closing comments from the panel. So if you may just give us a short word on what you spoke on, pivoting from employee to employer, or any other point that may have resonated with you from the conversation that we had today.
Okay, yes, thank you guys so much for having me. What I would say to entrepreneurs right now is, from my experience, collaboration is key. I don't think that we collaborate much in Jamaica. I think that everybody just want to start something, and we don't really stop to look at the value in collaborating with others. I have collaborated with companies, and it's mostly companies overseas. They're more willing to do it than we are locally. But what you find is that this is one of the ways that you can beef up other areas in the business that you're not strong in. So I am a tax specialist. I'm an accountant. I'm a certified public accountant. But it's not every area in accounting and taxation I may have resources in. When you partner with another entity, then it allows you to shore up your resources in both entities. A lot of people is going to say that, well, we are competing in the same market. But the fact of the matter is, you cannot do all the business in the market. I cannot do the tax for every company in Jamaica, and I cannot be the accountant for every company in Jamaica. But if we partner together, you may find that if you're able to take on 10 now, you partner with someone that has, more experience in a particular area, you probably can take on 20, and that doubles your profit. So I want to encourage entrepreneurs to look for opportunities to collaborate, one, and then in doing so, ensure that you position yourself in a way where people will want to work with you. Once you establish whatever brand identity you have, or whatever niche that you're going to be in, learn as much as you can about the market, learn as much as about the players that are in the market, and always search for opportunities to partner and collaborate and build something of that profession.
Thank you, Sarika. Dania, you're next.
Okay, so thank you again, guys, for having me. I always enjoy sharing time and virtual space with persons who want to have a conversation. I'm a lover of community. For me, my final words would be along the line of confidence. I really do believe that, like Marcus Garvey said, without confidence, you're twice defeated in the race of life. When you feel confident, you are at your best. You're able to take on things more. You see things more as opportunities rather than challenges and tasks. And it is the way that I have lived my life, And so I really just want to encourage you all who want to be entrepreneurs, or those of us who are entrepreneurs already, that there may be new frontiers that we want to take on, and we have this self-doubt. We don't want to take it on because we're thinking of, oh, the economy is not good right now. I may not have all the skills and all the resources. It will come. Start somewhere. Just start. Just put one foot in front of the other, and you will get to where you want with hard work. Ambition is a burden, but it's a burden enough of us. So we are going to carry, so let's carry it. And of course, follow me on all platforms, on YouTube, it's Being Broadtail. Check out my YouTube series, like, subscribe, share. And on social media, it's at The Publicist. And for my business, which is Broadtail Designs, it's at Official Broadtail on Facebook, where Broadtail 15 is. So yeah, we're going through all of this together. We're all human. Let's just get it done.
Thank you, Dania. Rochelle, you have the last word.
Yes. So I'll say, and I will encourage all that are on, if it's your intention to get into content creation, I'll say now is the right time. A lot of people tend to think that, oh, it's so saturated and I'm going to get caught down. But look how many doctors are out there. Look how many lawyers are out there. Look how many of these people in the same profession. And I'd say there is enough for each of us. You just have to find your unique value, what you bring to the table, and just go after it and just do that. I mean, gone were the days where if you wanted to be a teacher to get a job, you'd have to go to a university. You'd have to teach at a university or teach at a school. Now you can go online and teach your own courses, do your own thing. So there are so many opportunities online that we should try and take advantage of. Don't be shy away. As Dana says, confidence is everything. You have some people out there that in the wrong field, but they're doing it, and I have to give hats off to them because they were confident enough to do it. That's an excellent point. So guys, just go after it, just do it. There's no timeline. No, start, just find what skill, what area you are good in, and figure out what you're going to bring to the table, what value you're going to bring to the table, and just try, just start, just do it like right now. All right. And again, follow me on social media at Rochellin on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, everywhere. And it's ROCHIELIN. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rochelle. Love the energy that comes with it. You know, from all of the presentations, all of the things that you guys have shared with us this evening, I am taking away authenticity. From it, because throughout all of your expressions, that's the common vein that I have followed. Victor spoke to, you know, just believing in, committing and staying with what it is that he has determined to do and being authentic. That, in a sense, Dania is all about just being confident, and that is authentic to who she is. And so she's supporting and offering value from a very, it is a well that cannot be tapped out, basically, because it is who you are. And you will find that is your point of pivoting always. Rochelle, you basically expressed to us the same thing. Stay with what it is that you are passionate about, what it is that you are interested in. You say you're curious, and that is what drives you. And so it doesn't matter if it even takes you to some spaces where others wouldn't expect you to fit in. Because of your authentic curiosity, it comes across and it resonates well with your audience. So for me, all of this, we're talking about opportunities, and the trends, if you're paying attention to the predictions from the HR perspective about what's happening with the labor force, what's happening with the population, just because of the pandemic over the last 2 years or so, it's saying that people have been questioning. People have every single human being with consciousness is basically pivoting mentally, emotionally, in some psychological way to say, okay, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this how I want to be living? And that often will ultimately redound in also the way you make a living. If you're in that stage of your life, you're going to start questioning, is the current way that I'm operating the way that I want to continue operating? And so there are different trends emerging. There's a wave called the resignation, what they call it, the resignation era or something like that, because there are so many persons who are resigning, having had to work from home and just seeing what that is like. Then, no, it was Sarika that mentioned wanting to have more control and determine what it is that she does with her time and work-life balance and so on. And so for persons listening, it's opportunity evenings. We're hearing that opportunities are rampant right now. In a time of challenge, in a time of crisis, there are always opportunities for those who are problem seeking to solve problems, rather, solution seeking, persons who are entrepreneurial, who are wanting to add value and contribute, and people who just always are generating ideas. Now is the time and the space. Rochelle just said, do it now, just start. Rochelle, Dana said it also, just start. Have the confidence to believe in what it is that you have an inspiration to do, and let Providence support you with the rest. You know, you're either going to learn or you're going to succeed. So either way, you have something to gain. And with that, we wrap this evening's presentation of Opportunity Evening, which is a part of our Global Entrepreneurship Week of activities. The week continues throughout Friday. So today is Wednesday, and we have Opportunity Evening tomorrow, Thursday at 1 p.m. We have Raising Capital. And on Friday, we have 2 events for you. We have the Entrepreneur's Journey, and we also have the Boss Awards. Entrepreneur's Journey begins at 12 noon, and the Boss Awards starts at 1 p.m. And if you have been following JBDC, you know that is like one of our really, really premier activities for the year, because it's when we get to award, acknowledge the entrepreneurs, the boss man and boss lady who we think have excelled and made quite a statement in terms of what they've done. And we get to celebrate that. So we invite you to participate with us.
Kira, one clarification. The session tomorrow morning, Raising Capital, that begins at 10 a.m. and not 1 p.m. That was an error. So it's 10 a.m. tomorrow morning.
Thank you for that correction, Sansia. So correction to that, Raising Capital as part of the virtual Biz Zone series will be at 10 a.m. So we invite you to join with the rest of our week of activities. You can get onto the website, to the JBDC website, for access to the global entrepreneurship activities that we have for the week and to register for those activities. Thank you, panelists, and thank you, audience, for being with us, and do enjoy the rest of your evening. It's been a pleasure.